It's noontime in Nashville, Tennessee, here on Wednesday, October 30th, and a very special day, especially for me here, as, you know, I've been hosting the Request Lunch Hour since 2001, which is a long time. I actually been on air here at the radio station since the summer of 1997, when everyone around the station called me Intern Dan. And when I got promoted, because no one wanted to set up the live broadcast and have it ready to go 5:30 in the morning downtown Nashville out at the Hard Rock, and they said, well, I bet Intern Dan will do it. They hired me, and they said, well, now you're promoted to Lieutenant Dan. And so I went on air as a part-time DJ as Lieutenant Dan. Those first shifts from midnight to 6 a.m., still something I really enjoyed, being live on the radio Christmas Day with folks. And still to this day, I'm Lieutenant Dan, but it's all in honor of Gary Sinise, who is here with me here in the Valley Music Studio right now. Welcome to Lightning 100. How you doing, man?
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Dan.
All right, you know,
thanks for having me.
I'm grateful, you know, because I need your endorsement and not you to be like, okay, you gotta stop that. I'm the Lieutenant Dan.
No. There's many Lieutenant Dans out there.
Okay, good. And welcome to Nashville. You know, you set up your incredible foundation and moved them here. I guess it's been a couple years now that you're out of Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah, we moved about 2.5 years ago. The foundation relocated, and I just moved here last year. But we were able to get the foundation out here in 2021, and then I finally got here last year. So. Good place.
That's really cool. We had someone call up and they're like, hey, you know, we just want you to know we've moved here to the area and we're fans of the station, and but we're, you know, the whole world, if anyone's not a fan of what you do, it's just because they don't know about it. I mean, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
And you know, it's emotional to even see, you know, the things that you've done for folks and helping out some really vulnerable people and people who have, you know, put their lives second, put our freedom first. It's a really awesome thing.
Well, I have a lot of veterans in my family, so it kind of all begins there. But I've met extraordinary people throughout this work. The foundation, the Gary Sinise Foundation, was launched in 2011. I had been, you know, working solidly with many different organizations prior to that, and I just thought, well, it's time to start my own nonprofit. I'm really invested in helping our defenders out and their families. So we launched in 2011. We're in our 14th year now, and the foundation is going strong. We have many programs helping a lot of people across multiple spaces doing different things. It's good work.
It really is. I know that you've built, and this may be an old number, it's maybe more now, but over 80 homes for severely wounded heroes.
We just gave away our 93rd house, and our 94th is coming up in about 10 days. We have our 94th home right here in Tennessee, in Nolensville, so for a double amputee, Josh Hargis. So we've built a lot of these specially adapted smart technology mortgage-free homes for badly wounded service members all across the country. And we have 2 more coming in Tennessee, actually, and I think one of those will actually be our 100th home sometime next year or early the year after.
Man, you know, it's really awesome. It's something people can find out more about at GarySiniseFoundation.org. It's an easy follow over on Instagram as well. And you've raised over $300 million for wounded veterans, first responders, and their families. I mean,
I think it's almost 500.
Oh my God!
At this point, yeah.
I love that. That's a great thing to be wrong on.
I mean, like I said, we've been at it a long time, and we've got very dedicated, supportive donors and corporate sponsors and all kinds of great individuals who have been with us a long time. More people come on board all the time because they see what we're doing. And here I am talking about it today, so maybe we'll get some new folks going to the website.
For sure, for sure. We've got Gary Sinise here in the Valid Music Studio at Lightning 100, actor, director, producer, musician, and founder of the Gary Sinise Foundation. Many people know you as Lieutenant Dan. You know, they know me as Lieutenant Dan. 30th year anniversary of Forrest Gump, which is kind of crazy. And that was pretty deep into your acting career. But do you feel like that being in that movie really changed your life in many ways?
No question about it. I think maybe just 3 or 4 movies prior to that, a handful, and smaller parts, that kind of thing. But Lieutenant Dan was definitely a game changer because it was so popular and so many people saw it. It was a great movie, and that can turn the whole career around, which it did. And it not only changed the career, but I became very, very involved with supporting our wounded after that, because Lieutenant Dan's a wounded soldier, and I got very involved with the Disabled American Veterans Organization, and I just became very, very involved after that. Prior to that, I was working with Vietnam veterans and doing all kinds of things. So when the opportunity came along to play a Vietnam veteran in Forrest Gump, I was tuned up, because my wife's 2 brothers served in Vietnam, her sister's husband. I just felt like in some ways that, I just had to play that part, and I was lucky to get it when I did.
Yeah. And then you formed the Lieutenant Dan Band, or Gary Sinise and the Lieutenant Dan Band, and have played hundreds. I was going to say over 500 shows, probably more than that, for around the world for soldiers serving our country around the globe.
Like I said, the foundation has so many different things that we do, and the band is one of them. When I started the foundation, I folded the work with the band, because I'd been playing with the band for 10 years before the foundation. And when I started the foundation, we folded the band into the foundation as kind of a program. So people that donate to the Gary Sinise Foundation, they help provide the entertainment on military bases and military hospitals and all of that. And we've played hundreds of military bases across the world. Many events at military hospitals, and those are great because we get there's so many patients in there, and their families can be going through long rehabilitations, just dealing with a lot of serious injuries and that kind of thing. So we get everybody outside who can come outside, and we set up a big stage out there, and we bring food in. We bring like rock climbing walls and moon bounces for the kids to jump around in, because the families can be there for a long time, just kind of enduring these long rehabilitations of their wounded hero. And so we come in and we lift them up by doing these things we call Invincible Spirit Festivals. And we've done, almost 30 of them over the years at military hospitals. We do 3 or 4 of them a year at all these various hospitals, Walter Reed and Fort Belvoir and Brooke Army Medical Center and Naval Medical Center in San Diego. So we're constantly busy doing good things, and the band is something I love to do. I love to play music. I'm the part-time bass player. Everybody else is a pro in my band. I just do it for free and for fun, and I got to pay the band and everything, and that's where the American people come in. They help me do all this good work.
That's awesome. We have Gary Sinise hanging out with us here at Lightning 100, and I'm Lieutenant Dan because the guy that hired me, he was ex-military. He had been in the Air Force, and actually the guy out there running video right now is our vice president of the company, and he served in the Air Force as well. So
awesome.
Yeah, it kind of all comes together, and it's partly why over the years we've always made a big deal about celebrating Veterans Day. We have Lightning 100 salutes veterans, and that's something that's very important to us. November 11th every year.
Fantastic.
And coming up here, it's the day before. It was your son's birthday, November 10th. And earlier this year, you released music that Mac had made, and you're going to be releasing some more of that coming up on what would have been his 34th birthday. And I think it's just an awesome thing to get to remember your son for sure.
Yeah, he was fighting a very rare cancer called chordoma. He was diagnosed in 2018, and it's very rare. I mean, there's only maybe 300 people per year in the U.S. that are diagnosed with it, and about 70% of the time they can remove the initial tumor and they cure it. It's gone. They remove it all, but then there's 30% that the cancer comes back, and that's what happened to Mac. It came back. So maybe under 90 people have what he had, and he fought it from 2018 until we lost him in January this year, January 5th. And he was a musician, and he worked for the Gary Sinise Foundation, very dedicated to the mission, and he wrote music for some of the foundation videos. And right before he died, he completed a project that was a dream of his. He was very disabled by the cancer, but he got back into music last year. And with a buddy of his who he went to college with, Oliver Schnee, who was a fellow composer, Oliver helped Mac to complete some music that he'd written in college and bring it back to life. And they made a record called Resurrection and Revival. And that's on the Gary Sinise Foundation website. And then after he died, I found all this other music in his files, and I thought this is too good. I don't want it to just die in his Dropbox. So we just launched last night pre-sales for Resurrection and Revival Part 2, and that's on sale now. And all the proceeds for both records, Part 1 and Part 2, go to the Gary Sinise Foundation, as Mac wanted. These are vinyl records. The vinyl sales go to the foundation, and you can get it on Spotify and iTunes and all of that.
Well, I think we should listen to some of it.
Let's do it. Awesome. From Part 1.
Yeah. We don't have Part 2 yet. You can pre-order it. I don't know if we have that with us, but the first part came out this summer, and it's awesome. And I want to play Eyes of Marigold, but I also want to play Arctic Circles. Tell us about Arctic Circles a little bit here.
Sure. Arctic Circles is actually the piece that Mac wrote in college. It's one of the pieces he wrote in college. And he said to me early last year, 2023, he said, "Dad, I have this project that I never finished, and I think I'd like to try to finish it." So he went to work on it and finished it, and they went into the studio, Sunset Sound in Hollywood. It's a very well-known studio, and they went into Sunset Sound last July 2023, and they recorded Arctic Circles and another piece with Mac playing harmonica called Shenandoah. It's an old, great American classic, but Arctic Circles is the one that started everything, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Well, let's take a listen. This is Mac Sinise and Arctic Circles. You can find out more at GarySiniseFoundation.org. Lightning 100, that is Mac Sinise, Eyes of Marigold. Were you saying that he had written that for a class?
Yeah, he would be so happy to know that song is on the radio.
It sounded great.
And Arctic Circles as well. Thank you for playing both of those. Eyes of Marigold, he wrote for a songwriting class, tucked it away, and he made a little recording of it, him doing it, and I took that recording, and the guys that are singing there, they have a band called Stolen Silver, and they're buddies of mine. The violin player plays in my band, and so I gave them the tape of Mac singing that song, and I said, "Will you guys record this for him? I want to play it for him on his birthday." And they recorded that ballad version and also an up-tempo version that's going to be on the Part 2 of Resurrection and Revival. And I played it for him on his birthday one year. There's a great picture of him on the website, kind of smiling, and it's him listening to the song on his birthday for the first time. That song that you just played there, it's beautiful.
I love that. And you can pre-order Part 2 right now. It's going to be shipping November 10th, which would have been Mac's 34th birthday, at GarySiniseFoundation.org. And you said it's a double vinyl release.
It's double, yeah. There's 19 compositions, 17 originals, and a couple of covers.
Very cool. Okay, well, let's play a couple more from Resurrection and Revival Part 1. And you said some of these he's playing the harmonica, this next one?
This is, the story on this one is because Mac became very disabled by the cancer, and so he was paralyzed from the chest down. He was in a hospital bed. He was a drummer. He was an excellent drummer. That's where he started in music, as the bought him a drum set when he was 9 years old. He picked it up right away, played with some great people over the years, played through, but when he got into college, he just wanted to write songs. He wanted to be a film composer. He wanted to, so you can see with Arctic Circles, it's very,
for sure. I thought
very, it's an orchestral piece.
Yeah.
It's very cinematic. And he was writing all kinds of music, wanted to do all that, but now he can't play anymore. He had limited use of his right hand, his right arm, his fingers, and his mom suggested he get a harmonica, and he could hold it. This hand was kind of paralyzed, but he could hold it up, and he could play. And I gave him a copy of a buddy of mine, a Medal of Honor recipient named Sammy Davis, who plays harmonica, and he plays a beautiful rendition of the old American classic Shenandoah. And I gave it to Mac. I said, Mac, you should learn this one. And he did. And so when they went into the studio to record Arctic Circles, I said to him, Mac, you're going to have all the strings there. The string section's going to be there. Have Oliver do an arrangement to back you up on Shenandoah. And that's what they did, and that's what this one is. This is Mac playing the harmonica with just some of the great studio musicians in Los Angeles backing him up on Shenandoah.
Let's take a listen. It's on Lightning 100. Lightning 100, that is Mac Sinise and Amazing Grace. I've got his dad, Gary Sinise, hanging out with us here in the Valid Music studio. Kind of emotional to listen to these songs, but so cool that it's out there and that people can read about it. And I saw the photos over on the Gary Sinise Foundation website, and can order these records and everyone take it home and remember it forever.
Yeah. The part 1 is on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff right now. And same thing will happen with part 2. That one, Amazing Grace, well, he just happened to be fooling around with that when Oliver, his buddy, was recording him playing Shenandoah. And Oliver said, whoa, wait a minute, what are you doing? And so Mac played his Amazing Grace for him, and then they decided to put that on the record. So what you heard there, like the cows and the birds and everything, that was on our back porch. When Oliver recorded Mac on the back porch playing Amazing Grace, and Mac wanted all the sounds of, the like outdoor sounds and everything. Mac was always thinking sort of cinematically and sort of, he loved movies and kind of just pictured some old guy sitting on the back porch playing the harmonica, and that's what he wanted to do. And it's a beautiful version of Amazing Grace, I think.
It's so cool. That's on Resurrection and Revival, and they just announced part 2, which is going to be shipping November 10th, and you can pre-order it at GarySiniseFoundation.org. You can also see pictures. There's a really great write-up there. Gary Sinise, Lieutenant Dan, hanging out with Lightning 100's Lieutenant Dan here in the Valid Music studio. We're going to take a quick break. We're coming back, hanging out with Gary and having some fun here. Big thanks to local restaurant 51 North Tap Room and Grill for sponsoring the show today. They're your friendly neighborhood spot in the Nations. They're online at 51northtaproom.com. Also to Frothy Monkey. They are on Veterans Day going to have a fundraiser benefiting the Gary Sinise Foundation, giving 10% of proceeds at all Frothy locations on Veterans Day to the Gary Sinise Foundation, which you can find out more at frothymonkey.com and GarySiniseFoundation.org. We're hanging out. It's a long time coming. I've been for like almost 30 years. Lieutenant Dan here on Lightning 100. And I have Gary Sinise the Lieutenant Dan hanging out with me here in the Valid Music Studio. He has moved here to the Nashville area, moved his headquarters of the Gary Sinise Foundation from L.A. to Franklin, Tennessee, a couple years ago. GarySiniseFoundation.org. They do amazing things. I mean, I love what your foundation does, and it's such an important thing, as you know. And it's just incredible to hear you talk about it, because it's in your head. You know the name of the person who's getting the 93rd house, which just blows me away. And we all want to feel like what we do in life is worth doing, and this has got to make you feel good about what you've done with your foundation.
Oh, no question. I had a book come out 2019. It's called Grateful American. And in it, I tell a lot of different stories about a lot of different people that I've met at the hospitals. And, I remember these folks because it made such an impactful impression on me when I would go to the hospitals and see somebody, missing, 3 limbs, or, traumatic brain injuries, or, severe burns, whatever. That stuff sticks with you. And so I ended up with this home building program, as I mentioned, and we started building houses for people that I would meet in the hospitals. And then the program got got pretty well known amongst the veteran community and whatnot. So we started taking in a lot of applications for people that would just apply to get a specially adapted home. And now, as I said, we just gave away our 93rd, and we're about to give away our 94th on Veterans Day. So that's one great program. We have another great program for children. It's called we call it Snowball Express. It's a program. I got very involved with supporting the children of our fallen heroes back in like 07 time period. Started doing that and playing concerts for them and raising money and whatnot. And then we eventually took that program in under the Gary Sinise Foundation umbrella. And now we take, every Christmas we take over 1,000 children who have lost a parent. We'll take them to Disney World for 4 or 5 days, all expenses paid, trip. And we just put a lot of love on them and make sure that they know that we don't forget what they've been going through. It's very healing because it's fun for them to be at Disney World. But the other aspect that's even more important is that they're around all these other children who are going through the same thing. They've all lost a mom or a dad in military service. And now we also take children of our fallen first responders there. So it's we've got firefighters and police officers that are losing their lives every week, in this country. And they leave behind families and children. And we can't take that for granted. So we try to put our arms around all these kids and do good things for them.
I saw recently you were serving breakfast to first responders in New York. Was it?
That was the reason we actually have a big, pretty vigorous first responder outreach program at the Gary Sinise Foundation is because years ago, going back to 2003, I met a man who had lost 2 sons on 9/11. And I was on a trip to Iraq to visit the troops, and he was on the trip too. He was a former Marine, legendary firefighter in New York. When we got back from the trip, he invited me to come to the firehouse that his son was stationed in. They lost 6 firefighters at this firehouse. His name's John Vigiano. He lost his son, John Jr., at that firehouse. He also lost another son, Joseph, who was a police officer. They both were killed on 9/11. So I went back to the firehouse that I had visited 21 years ago to serve them food on September 6th this year, and it was a big event. We had a lot of people there. There were guys there 21 years later that were there the night that I was there in 2003.
Wow!
And they're still They're still on the force. They were youngsters then. They're still in the department, and they're still serving. And it was great to see them and then meet all these new folks and kind of revisit the place that really started our first responder outreach program. And since then, we've just supported departments all over the country and helped a lot of families. It's been a great program, and it all started right there in New York.
I saw there was a guy that you took a picture with, and his shirt said Marines. Is that the same guy, or?
I'd have to look at the picture.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I took a lot of pictures that day. but who knows? It could be. Now, as I mentioned, my friend John Vigiano, who I met on that first trip to Iraq, now his grandsons, the sons of his sons who were killed, they both served in the Marines, and now they're both police officers in New York City.
Wow, that's incredible. We have Gary Sinise here in the Valid Music Studio. GarySiniseFoundation.org, where you can find out all about what they're doing for veterans and veteran families and just people around the world. Okay, well, let's play another song or two from the Max Sinise release that's out so far. There's a new Part 2 release that you can pre-order. That's not shipping till November 10th. And tell me, let's talk a little bit about this song, Penguin Dance, and why it's so special.
So Penguin Dance is actually something that Mac wrote last year in his hospital bed. And he had all kinds of, he had his laptop, and he could program things. He had his Sibelius and all these different things that he could program music into. And he wrote a chart for something he called Penguin Dance. Originally, it was called Whimsical Melody, and then he was watching a lot of nature shows, seeing these penguins running around and everything. So he called this Penguin Dance, and it's a really fun, sort of happy song. And the story is that when his aunt, Amy, heard Arctic Circles, it made her cry. And she said, Mac, write something that doesn't make me cry, that makes me smile. And it kind of, is, a little fun and everything. So Mac went to work on it and wrote this beautiful, fun song called Penguin Dance that features Beth Gottlieb on marimba and all xylophone, all these different things. It's very percussive because Mac was a drummer, so he wanted to challenge Beth with a little fun percussion here on Penguin Dance.
Let's take a listen. It's Max Sinise and Penguin Dance on Lightning 100. Lightning 100, Max Sinise, Cloud Surfing. That is another one from Resurrection and Revival, which you can find out more at GarySiniseFoundation.org. They just announced that you can pre-order Part 2, which will be shipping starting November 10th, which would have been Mac's 34th birthday. Gary Sinise, this has been it's an emotional thing to do this, but it's awesome to get to share this beautiful music with the world.
I'm so grateful to you, Dan, for featuring the music today. If you look at the album cover, I don't know if you can see it there, but the album cover, Mac selected that. He kind of designed the front and back of the cover, and then the front is a picture of his great-grandfather, my great-grandfather, on a horse in World War I. And one of the things that Mac did at the foundation was he would restore different things. He was archiving things. I have a big collection of stuff that people have given me over the years, including a bunch of pictures from my grandfather World War I days, but they were kind of rough looking. And so he would restore them, he would resurrect them and revive them. And that's kind of where the album title came from. He resurrected and revived this photograph of my grandfather, and he also resurrected this piece of music called Arctic Circles that he never finished, and he revived it, and he brought it to life. And that's what a lot of the music on the first record is. He's a pretty special guy, and we miss him quite a bit.
For sure. Well, we're going to keep remembering him and listening to his music. I saw that photo, and I wondered, because I read that, you come from a long line of people who've served our country and had veterans in different wars, and so I didn't realize that was World War I.
Yeah. My grandfather drove an ambulance in France, but he was training on a horse for some reason. I don't know what that.
That's wild. Well, you can find out more at GarySiniseFoundation.org. So I'm excited because you're going to come back in and we'll do this again with part 2.
I would absolutely
we'll make the deal on air, so we have to do it now.
We got more music to play for you. It's very, very good music. It's a lot of fun. Again, the proceeds from the vinyl sales, as Mac wanted, all go to the Gary Sinise Foundation to help our mission with veterans. And for folks that are out in the Franklin area or feel like coming to the Franklin area on Saturday, 2 o'clock, my band will be playing out there at Harlansdale. The field out there. My buddy, do you know Five for Fighting? The band?
John Andrezek.
That's my band, my buddy John, and he's gonna go on at 1 o'clock, and then at 2 o'clock my band will go on.
Okay, well, we were just there. Hopefully, it's less muddy than we were there
it's free.
A couple weeks ago.
It's totally free.
Oh,
and it's a great family show, and it's Franklin Family Days, so it's all free and fun.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure you can find out more as well at GarySiniseFoundation.org, and on the socials you can follow. That sounds like so much fun. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. This is a career highlight for me. I've been stuck at lieutenant my whole career, so I got to make the most of it. As
we'll call you Captain Dan now.
Is it Okay, I was hoping I could get a promotion. My wife was hoping I could get.
You've been promoted now.
Get a promotion. All right, Captain Dan. Excellent, great news from Lieutenant Dan himself. Find out more. They are doing so much, and they're here in our area now at GarySiniseFoundation.org.